The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
TV party tonight! What? TV party tonight!
Oh, we got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Don't want to talk about anything else.
We don't want to know.
We're dedicated
To our favorite shows.
Oh, my circuits!
Everybody loves Hypnotoad.
Scary dog!
Pearson at Blurnsville.
Futurama!
Peace, God. This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your MC, the Mizza. And over there is the Stizza.
That's right, baby.
Stark on the chef.
Starcher on the chef, buddy.
This is TV Party Tonight. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And tonight, our favorite show is Wu-Tang Motherfucker. Wu-Tang Motherfucker. Wu-Tang An American Saga Season 3. Brought to you by the good people at the RZA Productions, Minute Drill Productions, Imagine Television, 20th Century Television. Wu-Tang An American Saga is an American biographical drama streaming television series created by the RZA and Alex Tse, which premiered on September 4th, 2019 on Hulu. It portrays a fictionalized account of the formation of the Wu-Tang Clan. The series was renewed for a third and final season, which we're going to talk about tonight, which premiered on February 5th, 2023, and it aired its final episode on April 5th, 2003. The show has won a Golden Reel for Outstanding Achievement in Sound Editing, which I am not surprised. It also won Golden Reels for Sound Editing in Season 1, Series 1 Hour Music, and the Best Music for a TV Streaming Series. Again, no surprises there. It was nominated for a Primetime Emmy, Outstanding Original Main Title Theme Music for the RZA, which it did not win. All right. Like I said, I got Jesse here. We're wrapping this up, man. We both of us have talked about, despite the fact that we're metal guys, we've talked about our love of like 80s and 90s and early 2000s hip hop, the gangster rap, as it were. We on the Metal Hammer of Doom, this was the Metal Hammer of Doom after all, reviewed the 36 Chambers when we did Season 1 of Wu-Tang An American Saga. And now we are at the final leg of our journey. When we last left our heroes, the RZA, his Staten Island home, had a flood, and he lost like all of the Wu-Tang solo albums.
Fecal particles, Mark Radulich. Fecal particles are in the discs.
Inspected Tech was not happy,
No.
as you assume he would not be. So,
No.
we're going to talk about there were two things that you and I were, before the show started tonight, we were kind of going over the format. I said there's really like two things I have to talk about, and that is the Negro wrangling that has to go on in this show. Oi.
Oh, man. Trying to just herd a bunch of cats, man.
Yeah.
This was, it got tough.
Yeah, like this was an ornery bunch of cats that the RZA and Divine had to get together. I mean, it was like there were points where between Old Dirty Bastard, Raekwon, Meth, and a few other, Ghostface, where you just get the distinct impression you're dealing with a preschool class.
Right.
This one's eating paste. This one's shoving cars up his nose. Two of them are snuck off to the closet, to play doctor. And you're just like, can we please? We need to learn today's mathematics, Jesse. We need to learn the mathematics.
That's right.
You can't get these idiots in a room, And I swear to God, take a drink every time Raekwon bitched.
Oh, jeez.
About anything and everything, dude. Especially towards the end, where there was like, I found, the RZA picks up his son and he calls his cousin Marvin. He's Marvin. I got this new sound. And Raekwon's was like, I can't rap over string instruments.
What is going on here? Yeah, he had no interest whatsoever.
Yeah, he had. It's funny because like, if the show is accurate in any way, shape, or form, you can't fuck with Bobby's vision.
No.
And none of these guys saw it. Like there was so much resistance, and when Bobby is allowed to just do his thing, when the RZA is able to execute his vision, nothing but success. And it's like, the show touches on that in a lot of ways. Like, have a little faith in Bobby, have a little faith in the RZA, and he hasn't failed you yet. And that yet there's Raekwon. Like, everything you do stinks. Like, multi-platinum selling albums.
I can understand like the fear though, because again, RZA, the abbot, this guy and his vision, meditating and trying to figure out how he's going to bring this group to stardom once again. But then he brings in a string a string orchestra. Well, there's some woodwinds in there. I believe one lady was playing a flute. But regardless, there's people. There's no drums, and Raekwon points that out. He's like, "How am I? There's no beat to this. How am I supposed to write
What
lines?"
kills me is like the next scene is he's got those tracks recorded, and nobody has verses, and Met's like, "Play it for me." Meth. The only look other than like Divine and Bobby and Power, the only one who's like the adult in the group.
Right.
The one who's not so completely, at least it's the way he's portrayed, who's not so completely selfish. And he's just like, I'll listen to your beat, Bobby. Yeah. And then he hears it and he's like, this is dope. Get me in the booth.
Right. I'm ready to go. And I knew once he put his verses to it, I was like, there are going to be plenty of people that are going to follow right behind him and see that it works.
Somebody has to be brave and jump in the pool to see how cold it is.
Right.
And when they're in there and the nuts don't shrivel, and they're just like, it's fine, get in. We're here at the nude resort. The water is warm. Get in. And then and then and then there's Raekwon and Ghostface and everybody, and they jump in the pool, and suddenly you have Wu-Tang forever.
Right.
Wu-Tang, motherfucker. But let's go back. We're going to talk about the concept episodes because there was good and bad in all three of them, and I have a lot to say. But I do want to talk about how this season first deals with trying to recreate like a year's worth of work and recreate all these guys' solo albums. And so the flood set them back several months, and they have deadlines. Like they all signed. So 36 Chambers comes out. It's platinum, if I remember correctly. And now these guys are getting signed to solo deals. Not all of them. And that is a major source of consternation for guys like Inspector Deck and You God.
Poor Inspector Deck.
Poor Inspector. Oh, Inspector Deck should have been called Always the Bridesmaid, Never the Bride.
Right.
But he kind of, we got to double back to this, but he kind of does it to himself. And I'll touch on that in a second. But, there's Raekwon, Ghostface, Meth. These guys all have solo albums. And some of them are out already, and some of them they're working on them, and they have deals, and there's deadlines, and like the RZA is trying to like catch up with all of that. Meanwhile, the other half of the Wu-Tang Clan are just like, "What about me, boss?" And they don't have deals, and they don't have albums, and they're waiting and waiting and waiting, and it just feels like idle time. And oh, by the way, at some point, the Wu-Tang Clan has to put out a follow-up album,
right?
And there's Bobby with a with a plate full of fecal mattered wet discs, trying to recreate the magic of those. Because if you remember, they did the montage in season 2 of him recording everyone's stuff, and then he loses it all, and that's where we leave it. And then so we pick him up, and the episode's called like I Haven't Slept or something like that, or I Can't Sleep. And he's like his afro, like you can see it in the picture in the graphic, like his afro's all grown out. He ends up losing his woman. Like he is committed, he like old Dirty Bastard owes an album and he hasn't worked on it at all, and they don't know where Dirty is.
They have no idea. Where is he at? They have no clue.
A big theme of this season. Where the hell is Dirty?
He's pissed is what it is.
That's right. Him and Bobby are still on the outs from the second season.
Right. He's pissed off, and he's not, our first episode is ODB. he's finally getting kicked out of the strip club because it's morning and the janitor showed up, and then he gets in trouble. He gets in trouble for buying some drugs, takes off running from the police, and then promptly jumps out of a window at the end of episode 1. So ODB,
who hasn't jumped out of a window to run from the cops, Jesse? Come on now.
right. Well, and from what was like a 1 story up too. I mean, he fell pretty far.
Yeah, not quite as far as Black Widow, who fell from orbit. But but then Old Dirty Bastard is also not a superhero.
True. Don't go telling him that.
He's dead.
So well, again, best of luck. I got dark. But yeah,
hey, we're gonna throw Old Dirty Bastard's corpse out a window. Want to come?
Jeez,
sure.
Wu-Tang forever. So, yeah, I mean, so ODB and RZA are on the outs, and then finally this near tragedy happens, and he kind of comes back into the fold. But yes, he can't get ODB in there. And number one, he hates him. ODB seems to.
Meanwhile, Inspector Deck's like, "What about me, boss? I'm ready to go."
Right.
And RZA's got to tell him like, "Terrific, you don't have a contract for an album. Go fuck yourself."
Right.
I swear, like, if there's a guy who I felt sorry for this entire fucking season, it was Inspector Deck.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every time that he was willing and able, ready to go,
dude. He tries to help Bobby, and Bobby's like, "No, get out of my lab." He tries to take the disc to get it recovered. NASA can't even recover the disc. When they later on in the season, when they're trying to fashion their own label, they don't want to sign him. They're like, just wait. And Inspector Dick's got to be looking around, going, "Am I not a pretty girl? Like,
right?
Am I not one of the pretty girls? Like, what are they so much prettier than me that you don't want me?" And finally, he just gets fed up. It's like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna take my ball and go home." Like,
yeah. Divine is like pleading with him, "Don't go. I will do this." But I mean, it was just so much, so fast.
Yeah, and it can only be shown that you're not important so much before you say, "Clearly, I'm not important to this operation. I'm gonna go."
Right.
I'll go find where I am important to people, and I'll go there.
Yeah. And that's what Inspector Deck was definitely feeling. So luckily he stuck around. He was at least loyal enough, even though he packed his bags and Divine was pleading with him not to go, and then but he ended up finding his way back there. But anyway, poor RZA.
They eventually find Dirty. They lure Dirty back into the studio. And I don't want to talk about it just yet, but they show you the episode where he does like the blaxploitation, the ode to blaxploitation, and that whole episode is essentially a metaphor for his like rap comedy album that became his solo album that did gangbusters. And of course, everyone it was almost not surrealist art, but like that I can't remember like the art style of like the can of soup or shit like that, but that album cover of his welfare card, that's art, man. I remember like that was controversial at the time.
Wow.
Wow. And I remember like they were doing a documentary with him, and he was like going to collect his food stamps after his album hit.
Oh, jeez, criminy.
Yeah.
ODB is a character, man. And his I don't know, man. I think that his arc through this obviously is pretty heavy at the beginning, but when they finally are able to come together and realize that okay, we need to work for the betterment of the group, then that's kind of where that ends. We don't really hear much from Dirty other than
Bobby's pitch to them when they were on the Staten Island ferry. If you'll remember, I think it was season 2, or it was either the end of season 1 is them running to Ohio after they kill Attila or whatever. But season 2 is where they have the bit on the Staten Island ferry where they get Raekwon and Ghostface to reconcile.
Yep.
And which is why Power's there. It's sort of like it's like, hey, we're good here. This is where like Power and Divine reconcile. Raekwon and Ghostface reconcile. And Bobby's thing to them is, you guys have such raw talent. If you'd only let me bring you together, refine you, and point you in the right direction, you're gonna be bigger than Elvis. And like that's the whole thing with ODB is, and I think I said this on a recent podcast that I was on. It was one of the ones from last week where I was like, maybe we shouldn't like drug and therapy the creativity out of people all the time. And like on the one hand, ODB is clearly got some personality disorder issues. He's really hard to get to focus on the important things. And this happened, the end of the season with the tour with Rage Against the Machine, where like he's just like following them, but no one knows where he is, and he's watching the show, but he doesn't perform for like 3 shows.
Right.
And he's just hanging out. Like, on the one hand, you need people to do the right thing, and you need people to do the hard work. But some of these people, the reason why they're geniuses is because they're utterly incapable.
True.
And at the end, we're skipping around a lot but I really want to focus on this theme of like the whole season really does deal with how difficult it is to squeeze the genius out of these guys, because they're such independent-minded, disordered characters that sometimes like the genius is there, but it's hard to get at. You might even say it's harder to get at than my fat. Never mind. You know the line.
Oh my.
You know the line. That old fat face Rick. So anyway, gotta behave myself tonight. So,
try to do it.
So, but at the end where they're like not gonna let Wu-Tang perform, and Old Dirty Bastard like finally like remembers, oh, that's right, I'm a rapper.
Oh yes, I need to be on stage.
Well, he's one of these guys who's just like, and this comes up a lot because it has to deal a lot with like Raekwon's objections to what they're doing, and a little bit of meth, especially towards the end. So it's like, are we not gangsters? Are we not from the streets? People don't stop us from doing anything. We do. People live and breathe and enjoy life at our pleasure, because when we're pissed, we will absolutely do something about it. And so Dirty's like, I'm not going to sit here and have no fat white man tell me I can't get up on stage and rap. Fuck that. And he gets up there and, and like Divine's trying to smooth it over, and it's genius. Like, he's just telling Little Richard's story. He's like, oh, wait, that's not me.
Right.
And then Power's like, you're going to just let ODB out there and hang? They're like, oh, no, of course not. And then we get the final performance of the Wu in the show. At least we get the final performance of the Wu-Tang Clan. But look what it took to get there.
Right.
Just to sort of move this on, because I do want to talk about the Divine episode. They spend a couple of episodes like showing how Bobby kind of got caught up. But the other thing that's happening during this period, and I wanted to get your impressions of this, especially coming from as far as they did with Raekwon and Ghostface, where they were like shooting at each other.
Right.
They're like best buddies in this. They like bond over kung fu movies. And then I think they do Cuban Links together, don't they?
Yeah, I think that they both took off and came up with an album, and that was Cuban Links. He brought them on there, and they had. It was great to see that. You saw these guys bond and come up with. They're going to do an album together, which is so far from what was going on, years before. It's great.
Right. Shooting into his mother's apartment.
Yeah.
Yes, they've come a long way.
They have. Trust me.
Anything else before we talk about the Divine episode? Anything else about like those first couple of like Wu-Tang wrangling episodes and the stuff that Bobby had to deal with? Anything that I hadn't brought up yet?
I mean, I think you've touched on most of everything there. It's evident that we're at a point now where they've got a hit album. A lot of them are coming into their own, and it's mentioned in this series that the egos are getting bigger.
Yeah,
their time is being spread out a little bit more.
Right.
There's
a couple of times where they say, like, when was the last time we were all in the same room together?
Exactly. So, that's one of the key things I took away from the series is that, this is a moment in time for this group where it is so like crucial that they have to come together in order to try and succeed one more time.
Right.
And the only enemy is themselves. They have to get past themselves in order to do this. And that's the struggle here. It's just like, okay, can he get past this to actually show up and do something on time?
Right.
Can he get past it? So it's great. The series definitely hits home with that, in my opinion. So yeah,
we got a quick talk about You God, because again, always the bridesmaid, never the bride. The first half of the season is a lot of him feeling like I was on a lot of verses in 36 Chambers. Why aren't I getting a solo deal? Where's my solo album? Why do I? You know, it's funny. The group can be clearly delineated between the stars and the B-side players. So the stars, Raekwon, Ghost, Meth, ODB, right? The B-side players, you got Inspector Deck, Master Killer. Oh, if we have to talk about Master Killer. And to a lesser extent, like, you know, the Jizza, but they dedicated an entire episode to the Jizza. So like he's kind of like in between, where like he's not with the cool kids, but he's not left behind either.
Right.
You know, with the liquid storage deal. Mm-hmm. But like the show really does deal with the fact that like some of these Wu-Tang guys fucking just exploded, and a lot of them got a lot of them got left behind and were like, am I not the pretty girl here? Like what about me? And then you got Shun get shot on top of everything else.
Yeah.
You know, and there's that, and a recurring theme in Wu-Tang An American Saga is that push-pull of the street life. Ghostface goes through it. Like there's that episode with the Delphonics, which now I want to go listen to the Delphonics, by the way. But, you know, Ghost has the Delphonics on his album, and he's driving him to the studio, and someone's been following, and they're on Staten Island because he wanted to get back to. Okay, I'm gonna have to talk about it next because I keep touching on it and saying we're gonna talk about it, and then I don't. But he's like, you know, I want my album to be authentic. I want to get back to where I came from. I want to, you know, this is what it's all about for me. I don't want to lose sight of who I really am. To the point where he has struggle like evolving. You know, I'm sure he has to kind of get in his ass about it. So Ghost has the Delphonics on his album that they're recording in Staten Island. And as soon as he got back to Staten Island, some cars following him. And his way of dealing with it is opening fire on them.
Yeah. With the Delphonics.
With the Delphonics.
For the ride.
Yeah, scaring the piss out of these poor old men. You know? One of them's about ready to walk the fuck out of the studio. The other one's just like, I'm not leaving. I will fight. I'm afraid I'm going to get shot.
All right.
You know, and then there's Ghostface, like I'm a hard guy, and I'm not going to be taken out as a punk. On the other hand, I scared my childhood heroes. Maybe I'm a monster, and I'm struggling with this. And then there's Sherry, like, you have a son. You have a famous rap career. Maybe don't run around with a gun shooting people.
Let's think about the consequences of our actions here.
Yeah.
What you just did jeopardized everything.
Right.
And it doesn't occur to him. He's thinking that he needs, well, he might have been legitimately frightened for his life at that point because he was paranoid throughout the whole day that this car was following him.
Right.
But regardless, I mean, you can't just open fire, like he said. like
preemptively, like I'm gonna get you before you get me.
Right.
Meanwhile, like Uber driver.
Said, like let him rob you. Let him take the stuff.
Right.
You'll buy new. You're going to be fine. You don't have to hold this image up. So. There is a real struggle between okay, you were from the streets, the streets. You're not anymore.
This is Raekwon's whole thing. It's there's things that get dealt with in the early part of the season, but not the latter part of the season. The stuff that gets dealt with in the latter part of the season, not the early part. Then there's Raekwon bitching for 10 episodes, consistently nonstop. Sorry, someone just flashed the Wu sign at me. So actually give me half a second, but keep going. But like talk about how like the fact that authenticity is a huge thing in this season, and Raekwon very much the one guy in the group going, is this what we are? Are we guys that rap over string instruments? And him constantly bitching at Bobby, like, you make all the decisions and don't check in with us. What the fuck?
Right.
All right, give me 1 second.
All right. Yeah, Raekwon. I mean, Mark hit on most of the points there. This is a guy who's he's upset. Now, you would think as a successful rap artist, he would feel fine in the midst of his peers and the fact that he got to where he is because of some of his peers. But no, that's not the case. He believes that it seems like he believes that rap is only supposed to be done in one certain way. But again, RZA has shown in the past that he can take these guys to where they need to go. And you got to think during the season, RZA, he guaranteed that they were going to have the number one album in the world. But yes, Raekwon just upset at every move that they could make. Apparently, I think at one point he even gets upset about members of the group. Now, it doesn't translate at the end of this that he is so upset that I believe it was Killer Priest who was getting paid while they were on tour. And he was like, that guy he's only done like one verse on one song. Why is he getting paid equal pay like the rest of us? So there's a very big blow up where Raekwon is like, I want to know who's in the group while they're on the tour bus, because he's upset about how people are getting paid and some people don't deserve. He believes some people don't deserve what they're getting. So Raekwon, it definitely is an impetus here for a lot of controversy throughout most of the season, or at least a lot of struggle and strife. He's definitely someone that feels that he's got an idea of what should be happening. But I'll go ahead and kind of move. I want to talk about, well, Mark will get back here. I can't remember the next point he was going to make, but I will say that Mark kind of had to structure this season down. First part is like, okay, we've got to come up with records. We've got to come up with albums for all these people and make the studio executives happy. We also have to go on tour. And that was, I think, a couple episodes. There was that focused on the tour that they went on. And then coming back, they had to focus on coming back home, kind of integrating back into their home life off of tour, which is a struggle. I mean, that's a challenge sometimes, especially for some artists out there. And then after that, they had to focus on getting the brand new album up and running and becoming number. So anyway, I talked a little bit about Raekwon there, Mark, and his
like, I can see where he's coming from. Like, I think on the one hand, I can see where Raekwon's coming from. Let's not lose our sense of identity. Our sense of identity is kind of our brand. On the other hand, everybody in the group is like, almost everybody in the group is like, maybe there's more fans out there than we thought. Maybe there's a higher level that we can get to. And I'll tell you, like, you know me, like we're the movie podcast, we're the movie guys, and there's an equivalency here about, you know, when you focus on that sliver of your fans, you get a dedicated fan base. But the minute you try to broaden your appeal, you start to lose that sense of authenticity. You start to lose that individuality. You know, the wider you go, the more, in many cases, the more washed out, drained, superficial your product becomes.
You said,
and I think Raekwon was very much like afraid of that happening.
You said wider, not whiter, right?
Yeah, white. Well,
I think
that's
Raekwon
the problem, isn't it?
Raekwon definitely voices his opinion during that Rage concert about how much that he couldn't believe what they're wanting to do some Cuban Link songs. He's like, I didn't write that for these people.
Right.
These are not my people.
Well, I think there's some anxiety on his part about, are white people going to understand what I'm talking about here? Are they going to accept it? Sure, everybody can shake your ass to a good beat, but are they going to hear me? Are they seeing me? You know, do they know the struggle? No, how could they? They're you know, all white people are rich and don't understand poverty.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I kind of get where, like, I don't want to take the chance of, because I'll give you a good equivalency. Dave Chappelle, Sean and I talked about this. In fact, I think the last thing I was telling you about was when Sean and I talked about the Trash trilogy. The other thing Sean and I talked about was Dave Chappelle and how, Dave Chappelle was this great, sardonic, underground, witty, sharp comic that talked a lot about race relations. And he was so successful, he got his own show on Comedy Central where he did the Rick James stuff, and that blew up. And then he was, and then he, fast forward a few years, he's at Disney with his kid, and people are running up to him going, "I'm Rick James, bitch." And he's like, "Please don't call me a bitch in front of my children." It's like Dave Chappelle had like the #1 comedy show in the world or some such thing. And all it cost him was his soul, his dignity in his soul. It's all anyone wanted from him was Rick James, bitch. Or the crackhead character.
Oh, yeah, Tyrone Biggums.
Yeah. No matter what he tried to do, no matter what he was trying to say, no one was listening anymore. All they wanted him with, say the thing, say the thing, say the thing, Dave Chappelle. And to the point where he's just like, "I'm done. I'm going to Africa. Goodbye." When you drive Dave Chappelle to Africa, you've done fucked up. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what Raekwon's bitching about. On the other hand, as Bobby puts it, as the RZA puts it, if you don't grow, you die. And at some point, you can only do the same rap club so many times before people get bored and are going to look for the new shiny. Mm-hmm. So he's like, why not go out on tour with Rage Against the Machine, do arenas, pitch to a whole new group of... I mean, if you look at some of the episodes where Bobby's talking to white folks, like the guy at Sam Ash, who's a huge fan, gives him the bump and everything. He's the one that sells him the slide guitar. I think there was a couple of other instances where Bobby's talking to white people and they're like, we love your music. Yay. More Wu-Tang, please. Look at us. 2 old fat white guys. And we're like, Wu-Tang, motherfucker. We love this shit. This is the audience. And so it's 2 sides of the same coin where Raekwon's like, no Mark and Jesse listening to the Wu-Tang Clan. Go listen to Metallica where you belong. And Bobby's like, music is for everybody.
Right.
We make this music for everyone, not just for, our homies in the street. And I do think there's some good dramatic tension, good thematic tension in the show over that. It's one of the things I really liked about this season. I don't like Raekwon. I think he's a bitchy pain in the ass. And I think he has limited scope and vision. And he is undone by his anxieties and prejudices. But it makes for great television.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, Divine. I have been Divine. So people watching this, if you haven't seen the series, but you like when Jesse and I talk, there's an entire episode that it's almost there's cuts in it, but it's almost done single camera style as you follow Divine through the Wu-Tang Mansion.
Yeah,
and he comes in and they're mid party, and he's got and there's issues with royalties, there's issues with credit cards. He's
ODB and his manager.
He gets ODB a thing with Mariah Carey. It's the dream gig. He's like, I have all the good news. I am Santa Claus. I have all the things for all of you. And it's Raekwon's I'm not paying my credit card. I think there was another one that didn't want to pay his credit card, right? I think it was I think it was ODB. He was like, I'm not paying my credit card either. Fuck you.
Oh, it was ODB's manager.
Yeah.
Well, was charging a bunch of stuff to the credit card and was not going to be like, well, how about he ends up, he cannot get ODB to sign. Yeah. But this white dude that ODB brought in as his manager.
He fell off a turnip truck. Listen to the Grateful fucking Dead.
He's like, let me see that. And then Divine's like, sure, go knock yourself out. And he comes back with a signed contract. He's got a signed deal right there for him to do that song with Mariah. And he's like, how the fuck? But anyway, the guy's like, how about you, that $12,000 that I just charged the credit card, can you wipe that off? And he's like, fuck, I got to now. So, but anyway, so Divine is having some struggles in this episode.
I've been there where you're like, I have all the things that are to make you guys happy and do good things for you. And everyone's an ungrateful son of a bitch. And no one wants to listen. And everyone's disrespectful. And oh, by the way, and Jesse, you know what time it is. The women. The women. Why aren't you home? Why aren't you home at your child's birthday? I have 87 million things to do, and they're all hot, wet, on fire, and due yesterday.
And they got it to be
but
done.
Let me
right
stop
now.
To come home for birthday cake. What was it we were talking about? Where we were like lamenting a wife getting mad at the husband for working.
Oh,
I don't know if it was Treme or if it was The Wire or something. That
I
we talked
can't
about.
remember either.
But there was something that
That's happening here.
Yeah, there was something that you and I talked about where it was just like, why, as men, do we get in trouble for doing the things men are supposed to do? You know, working and providing for your family. And not all of us have the luxury of 9-to-5 jobs with no other responsibilities or expectations. He's running a label. He's managing the Wu-Tang Clan. He has a fucking business.
Yeah.
And he has, oh, by the way, you know, Negro cat wrangling. It's just like every, you know, Ray Karan throwing panini machines and dirty. Where's ODB? No one can find him. He's like like Bigfoot. It's like an ongoing thing. It's like, I have been divine. I have been there where you can fry eggs and bacon on my forehead. And I'm so mad and I'm so frustrated that this shouldn't be this hard. Like, giving people the tools and resources they need to be successful shouldn't cause me to have a cancerous migraine.
Yeah.
And yet, when are you coming home, Divine? When you're missing a birthday party, Divine? I don't want to do a song for Mariah Carey, Divine. I'm not paying my credit card, Divine. Fuck all y'all. In another universe, there's a scene where Divine yells, "Catch my natural black ass," and dives out a window.
And this is the episode where Inspector Deck is like, yeah, I'm ready, man. I've got everything ready to go. I think I've got my album done. I'm ready to get. He's and Divine can't sign him.
Right. They wanted the new hot rapper. That was like the label. They wanted the new shiny. No one wants Inspector Deck. He's old hat. He's old, reliable Inspector Deck. Can we talk about that for a second?
Tell me.
So this whole fucking season, his album's got shit on it. He has to start from scratch. Nobody wants to sign him. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. Divine gets a contract to do a song for Tales from the Hood. And he's like, let me do it. And he spits hot fire, and the track is gold. The track is amazing. And he's like, I'm not putting my name on this. We'll just say it's the Wu-Tang Clan. Like, right. Why? It's an interesting thing about that character that when given an opportunity to rise above his station, he shies away from it. And then turns around and complains, why doesn't anyone love me? Why?
Well,
and
I think a lot of it is, he sees that what he's doing in that situation was sacrificing for the better of the crew. Yeah. He wants his friends to be elevated, and he'll get his time. I guarantee you, he's sitting there thinking like, I'm going to have my time to shine. It's coming. Just everybody's telling me that's what's going to happen. They're telling me I'm going to have my time to shine, and it's coming. And so, yeah, maybe he's doing that, but I think a lot of it is because it's a noble reason that he's doing stuff like that. And then you give and you give and you give, and then finally,
and what come back? What come back, Jesse? What was the character's name in the corner that I cried about?
What's that?
What's the character's name from the father's name in the corner that I was boohoo crying the whole episode?
Oh, I can't remember. My goodness,
Gary.
Listen.
Gary and Inspector Deck gave so much. And so little came back.
Yep. Oh, man.
Or Gary and Inspector Deck. They should go both.
Oh, man. Yeah, but Divine, man. At the end of that, I was just waiting for, his nose to start to bleed and he fall over. And,
right.
And it's just,
like you see a crack in his forehead.
Right. He's trying to get Ghost to sign. Ghost is like, I can't deal with that right now. Goes upstairs and slips into a diabetic coma.
Ghost is too hard for diabetes, yo. Goes like, yo, fuck diabetes. I'm gonna shoot it.
I'm like,
you can't shoot diabetes, Ghost.
Too strong for the sugar. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. You are going to have to really rethink that.
I'm gonna get that tattooed across my belly. Too strong for the sugar. Dude,
whatever.
How does Shuri not slap the black off him?
Oh, there are times that I am not surprised that she may have thought 3 times. I'm
gonna knock this stupid motherfucker out. So help me God. And I believe Shuri could do it. The way they portray that character, growing up with Bobby and Divine, 90% certain if she wanted to knock the black off a Ghostface killer, she could have.
Yeah. I think that episode that you're talking about, it's probably one of my favorites. I mean, it does show
so you and I will write each other as we're watching stuff. And if something, and we don't write like everything, but like if something really jumps out, and what did I tell you? I'm like, wait, did you get to episode 7?
Yeah. Divine. I've been Divine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Yeah. I remember you sending that to me, man. It's fun to see. Look, we like to see the artist be successful. We like to see the creative process, but Divine brings us the business aspect of this, and that's where all the craziness happens, really. I mean, he's
Divine is the American dream. He grew up hard in the street, did time, rebuilt himself, proved to people who looked at him and said, not this motherfucker, not this light-skinned brother, and was like, no, I'm going to suffer the slings and arrows of indignity that you do as a black man in America, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to be successful. And he does. Same thing with Power. Power is a drug dealer and a gangster and all this other stuff. And he's like, okay, but what if I just want to sell clothing now? And he does. And I love the scene of him and Raekwon after he gets the deal from, to sell the business to the Jews. And he's like, if I do this, I lose control of everything. And the whole point of this was to control our own merchandise. The whole point of this was to control all the aspects of the Wu-Tang Clan in its various facets, because we don't want to be inauthentic. Raekwon's thing, right? And it's like, I got a lot of respect for the Power character because of that. And then when he's looking at the display again, like he goes by display, he's like, look at what we accomplished in a year. We opened a storefront. We created demand, and now we're selling our shit in Macy's. Rapper clothing is in Macy's. Yep. That's huge, and it's not enough. And so when he's given the offer to sell the business, he's like, "This is everything I ever wanted, except for I have to lose a little bit of my soul." And Raekwon's like, "How much do you need to keep it in the family?" And Power tells him, and he's like, you invested in all of us, because if you remember, they didn't have a pot to piss in when this started.
Yeah,
and Power had to basically fund it with drug money, and he does.
Yep.
And so
when they would do the recap, they would show where he'd sold his car. He sold his car in order to. Yeah,
do you remember those episodes where like Bobby's like giving him like the wish list, and Power's looking up like, I'm gonna fucking knock your grill out.
Yeah.
What do you want a pony too? Dumb motherfucker. But he does. He's like, this becomes almost like a religion. Everyone have faith. Like they call Bobby the Abbot. That's more than just a nickname. Like the whole, like Bobby goes to all of these guys and goes, I have a vision, and if you have faith in me, I will take you to the promised land. And like fucking uphill struggle that is. But Power was one of those people. It's like, I'm gonna make the hard sacrifices so that we can make your vision reality. And so when Power came around and was like, in order to not do this deal, we have to have a lot more money in order to grow this business as fast as I want to grow it. And what does everyone do in turn? They give him money. Even God eventually, pulls his penis out of his ear and, gives him the money. Yeah, God got a little petulant there at the end. But all right, let's talk about these concept episodes. So there's the ODB episode, there's the Cuban
Dirt
McGirt, and Liquid Swords. By the time we got to Liquid Swords, I was fucking over all of these, by the way.
Oh boy, a lot of people shit on these.
Yeah,
I loved them. I'll
talk to me about that.
Okay, so me personally, the Old Dirty Bastard one, which I can't remember what it was called, but just like you said, it's the theme of that is very much black exploitation. The plot of it is just so absurd. Clearly, though, what they're trying to do with these episodes is to take you into the mind of that artist and kind of show you like what was going on in their head as they're coming up with the thoughts of the album.
As a showrunner, it's brilliant, because how many times can we see guys spit verse in a studio without getting boring?
Exactly.
So from a visual standpoint, from a visual medium, from a differentiation of episodes, the 3 themed episodes work on that level.
Right.
My problem is they get to me after after the Dirt McGirt one, I got really bored by the Cuban Links episode and Liquid Swords.
Okay, I'll give you the Cuban Links episode as being kind of boring. That's probably out of the three. That's my least favorite one. I did like Liquid Swords just because of the neat story it was trying to tell. But I will say that those episodes give our actors an opportunity to show some range, compared to what they've been doing throughout these whole.
Hang on, can I hammer something, because I think you're making a brilliant point here about let's remember these aren't the real Wu-Tang Clan members.
Exactly,
these are actors playing roles, because there are scenes where they're talking to each other and it gets heated, and I can't do it because people will hear that and not hear what I'm saying,
right?
But I was joking around tonight with my family and about the use of the N-word as a greeting, as this is the way they talk to it. And I can't, and the show was fucking produced by the RZA. So I'm assuming this is authentic. This is really the way they talk to each other. But some of these arguments between Raekwon, Bobby, Ghost, ODB, Divine, and they're all using it, and it's every other fucking word. You're talking to Captain Black culture over here, and I'm like, this is a bit much, And so I say that to say that when they the Liquid Swords is a really good example of this. There's none of that in Liquid Swords.
No.
It's episode.
Yeah, they get their opportunity to go into completely different characters representing whatever's going on in that person's mind, and that's why I thought the Dirt McGirt one as absurd and as
it works for ODB, because ODB's thing was a comedy album, a comedy rap.
Exactly.
Album. It was theater in the absurd. It doesn't work as well for me with the Cuban Links one, because we get it. You guys watch gangster movies and kung fu movies, and it was that's the album. I either show us recording a little bit of you recording it and move the fuck on, or don't do it at all. But that didn't need its own theme episode. It
had one good moment in that episode, and that's when they hung the dude off the building by a rope with his dick, tied to his dick, and they pushed him off of it, believing it would hold, and it doesn't, and it snaps, which I'm pretty sure his dick snapped. I don't know if the rope snapped or not, and then he fell 12 stories to his death, and they're like, "What did you do?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's great. That's classic stuff." But Liquid Swords was really good too, because it shows obviously what RZA had to do was bring these members together. We just talked about.
It was another Divine moment where he's like, "All right, go ahead and go into the studio. Let's get your album going." He's like, "Well, I need all the Wu-Tang Clan members." He was like, "You have a better chance of resurrecting Elvis."
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and finding Jesus's fucking rotting corpse. You're not getting these guys in the studio, and he's like, "Then I'm not doing it."
Divine's like, "Did you watch episode 7?"
Like, motherfucker, here, watch my tablet.
So
out of my Hulu account when you're done.
RZA, though, at that point has got to he's thinking about this. He's got to try and bring all these people together on his album, and that's going to be a task. And what a way to represent that, other than
him using Voltron as a euphemism for the Wu-Tang Clan.
Oh, yes.
He's like, if we get together and form Voltron, what if I'm the head. You have to have the head of Voltron, and Divine's like, you have to have an album on time, you shithead. All right, we've at this almost an hour. Go ahead and let's do Jesse Starcher's picture pages.
Oh well, most of what we talked about kind of will be all. We won't have.
We have to talk about Master Killer. I'm sure he's in there somewhere. So
he's in here. Hold on a second. So let me share my screen. Let me bring my notes over here so I can make sure that I'm reading that, and then take this over here. So share screen.
Bobby, make the magic happen.
I got to.
Shouldn't Mike you and then I edit?
I've got to push a button. Hold on.
Okay.
That's not what we want to do. We want to do this one. Okay, there it is.
All
right, should be showing up. Watch for it there.
Yep, I got it.
Okay, all right. So, hey, look, ladies and gentlemen, look at the high quality production.
You used the wrong picture. It should have been him in the fucking fur coat with the bandana on.
at the club.
He reminds me of fucking Clark Peters and Treme. I look pretty.
Oh,
Good
yes.
for you. Good
Yes,
for
he
you,
did.
ghost face killer, in your
We kinda-
purdy jacket.
You're the only person that could pull fur off in a club.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So Sadiq Saunderson as Ghostface Killer, and then we have Zoli Griggs as Shuri. I put him on here. You know, we're just doing a character breakdown. We talked already a good bit about his arc, most of which, you know, the only other thing I could think we didn't talk about, it really wasn't a huge point of this season, was his infidelity while he was on tour, and that's kind of brought up a little bit,
but they don't do anything with it. And then the whole time, like, he couldn't be more up Shuri's fucking ass. So I kind of like don't care about that whole scene plot.
Right. ODB. Okay, my favorite moment. TJ Adams as ODB, just like we said, jumped out of a window in episode 1. Episode 2 is him probably trying to get better, and they're all worried about this album that they've got to get done with ODB, and he's not there. And they were like, okay, how about this? I'll do some beats. I'll say ODB is ready to go. We'll meet with him tomorrow. We'll show him the beats, and then maybe we can slide by. They'll let us slide a little bit longer so we can get this album done. And ODB out of nowhere shows up
raw like a dungeon dragon
and starts rapping over the beats he didn't even hear. Right there on the table of the executive.
That's like his fucking superpower. It's like when all else, and in the darkest moments, there's ODB to save the day with some crazy shit. This guy, his D&D character has a 10+1 charisma.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Yeah. So that was probably my favorite moment of the season with him.
For sure.
So we got Shamik Moore as Raekwon.
Okay, when you're done with this, you gotta sit Mindy down and watch the Get Down. He's great in the Get Down. And he's great here too. Shamik Moore is an excellent actor.
Was he involved in Spider-Man?
Drives me nuts.
I hear you.
Raekwon just drives me nuts, especially this season, because it's just like, hey, everything we've done has worked. Yes, but I don't like it, so I'm gonna sit here and be a giant pain in the ass.
You guys are talking the new Spider-Man movie tomorrow, right?
Yep.
See if his name comes up when you guys talk about who's in it. Okay. All right. So there's Jizza. I mean, the genius. This guy, we've already talked a little bit about what he was doing there in Liquid Swords. Most of what I liked about this guy was his loyalty and, you know, what he was trying to get done for the group.
He still abides by the mathematics. Like, he's one of the only guys who, when they made such a huge deal about that in the first season in the documentaries, like their, you know, like the Muslim religion and all of that, and like they did Enter the Wu-Tang and at least the way the show deals with it, all that anyone cares about is whether or not there's pig on the table. You know, meanwhile, this guy is still like committed to those tenets.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, but I think it's also the differentiation between some of the guys that are a little more street and some of the guys that are a little bit more, you know, smart, you know, like classically educated.
So John L. Young is Jizza. And then we've got Dave East, who apparently, according to his wiki, is a rapper himself.
Yep.
Played Method Man, which there isn't a whole lot that comes up with Method Man throughout here, other than the fact that he hit it big with Tikal.
Yeah.
He hit it huge. And there tends to be it felt like some jealousy toward him, but how successful he was.
Look, he's a part of the Wu-Tang Clan, but is he? Because this for this 3-season arc, he's not really one of Bobby's brothers. He's a guy they know in the street who's a rapper, and he's talented, and it's one of those where he's kind of like the scope on the gun. Like, this will make it better and more accurate, but he's not really the gun. You know, when you think about the core Wu-Tang guys, it's Ray, it's Ghost, it's Bobby, you know, and then Meth. Yeah, he's part of the Wu-Tang Clan. I'm not taking that away from him, but he's not like the core 4. And so, but by the same token, he has wild success. And then he's just like, you almost get the sense of the way they write him. Like, okay, this Wu-Tang thing was nice and it got me started, but I'm the Method Man and I need to go do my own thing. I'm better than all of this nonsense.
Who was it that I can't remember who was upset? I don't know if it was Raekwon that was upset.
Mhm.
Somebody didn't go to some type of radio promotion because
Oh,
essentially they were like,
yeah, they
was it
put
YouGod?
him and YouGod together, and YouGod's like, fuck this guy.
Yeah,
He's gonna suck all the air out of the room. Poor YouGod. Oh,
Right.
the other always the bridesmaid. Him and Inspector Deck. Always the bridesmaid, never the brides.
Marcus Calendar as Power. We've already talked about him and his arc here with him basically trying to get Wu-Ware off of the ground, and clearly he does. He's got.
I like the scene of him and his dad when he's just like, "Dad, do you approve of me now?"
Yes,
That was
yes,
so sweet.
that's so great. And to watch him, try and get these businesses, trying to get his brand into those bigger
The
shops.
scene when they were on tour and he calls the bootleggers on the bus.
Oh, that's great.
He's like, "Are you gonna?"
That was great.
He's like, "I'm not gonna hurt you yet." And then it's like, all right, I want to offer you a job because like they're making Wu-Tang clothing for gals. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna give you guys a job because you clearly have a distribution market. You have a printing press. Like,
Brilliant.
Use this. You're gonna keep doing what you're doing, but you're gonna do it for the Wu-Tang Clan.
That's
And the one kid goes, "Am I in the Wu-Tang Clan now?" I was like, "Fuck off the bus! I smack the black off you."
Oh, it's great.
So good. All right, there he is, YouGod.
Damani deceased as YouGod. So YouGod, we talked about his kid getting shot. That's probably one of the big moments of this season. He finds out while they're on tour.
Yeah, that's kind of it for him because otherwise he's like a bit player who kind of bitches in the background.
Yeah, he finds out that his son gets shot while they're on tour. He just grabs a gun and
Fucks
takes
off the
off
bus and wanders into the clear blue yonder.
Right. I told Mindy, I was like, okay, this guy's just walking down the street
In the
and
South.
he's got a gun on him. It's like,
short,
I don't know.
black, angry black guy with gun walking through the South. This is not a recipe for disaster.
There's about 50 Karens that are calling the cops on him.
Yeah.
Karen fucking Teed.
Yeah, no, he heard fucking banjos and rebel flags as he was walking. I know, this is one of those times where I wish they hadn't cut the way they did because now I need a series of just YouGod's trip back to fucking Staten Island. There had to have been adventure.
Oh, no kidding. No kidding. Now his kid gets shot. Just to let everybody know, his kid doesn't die or anything like that. And I think that's a big turning point for him because his plan is clearly to get revenge on the person that shot his son. And he goes back home. He starts talking to people and he finds out who did it. He's right there, ready to shoot this guy as he walks out the door. And he gets a page, and it's from his wife who says his son is awake and he's doing fine. At that point, he doesn't follow through with what he was about to do. This is a guy that I think just got out of jail too, right? He was on
probation.
Probation, that's right.
According to this TV series.
Right. So, that's really his big arc this season.
Yeah.
All right. Now I put Mook on here. Jabanga, I cannot be. All right. I tried my best. I apologize. The only reason I know we don't have a whole lot to say about Mook other than him and his side hustle with the venues.
Yeah.
While they're on tour. But my favorite part with him is him trying to figure out who sacrificed the animals on the bus from.
He's a really good. This guy's a really good actor. He's in The Deuce. He was what's his face from Snoop's partner in The Wire.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's really, really good, and they don't give him a lot to do, and it's unfortunate because I think he's like a waste of a good actor.
Well, you got like 20 other people that's got to do something in this show.
We have to have another scene of Raekwon screaming at people.
Talking about the tour bus.
Yeah,
because we kind of already talked about a couple of these characters, but when they walk in on the bus driver, like grilling his underwear on the panini maker on the and the foreman and the guy's like, "Fuck you and fuck you." I'm like, "Oh man, that was hilarious."
Big balls on him as we saw for yelling "fuck you" at Raekwon.
Right.
But he doesn't last. Long.
Why is there a thread in my meat? Is there? Oh man, that's nasty. Yeah. All right, Jaquan J. Kelly as Master Killer.
All right, so I don't know if we've talked enough about Raekwon, so let's do so right now. So Raekwon is on the bus going, now, is he in the Wu-Tang Clan or not? And we have a pot of money that is divided amongst all 72 of us, and he's only on one track. does he get an equal share as me or Meth or Ghost, or should he get less? And then, like, do you want like a tier system of people who, if you're not a lot on 36 Chambers, then you get less money than the guys that are? And then Raekwon, who's kind of a chicken shit, is like, nah, man, I ain't saying that. But yes, that's exactly what I'm fucking saying. Pay this motherfucker less. And then this poor guy, like, I can't be on this album as much as I wanted to be. I'm like hiding from my family. He doesn't want them to be ashamed of him. And then, of course, we follow his story more so than at any other point in the series. And he goes home, and he's, you find out like his family's like full of musicians or cab drivers and everything. And like he finds like his uncle was gonna like sell him the medallion or whatever, the cab medallion, and then he finds out he's in the fucking Wu-Tang Clan. And he was like, I love this shit.
Yeah, that was great.
And then for the rest of the season, it's him pursuing his dream and being his authentic self.
I think I called him Killer Priest earlier. I didn't mean to call him. Apparently, I've got my names backwards here. I called him Killer Priest for some reason. I don't think that's him. Master Killer. Yeah,
and I like he has a really nice story. I like the actor.
I agree. I love the fact that he's it's almost like he's kind of ashamed. I wouldn't say he's ashamed. Maybe he's just worried that they're not going to approve because he's been told that, hey, you don't have a singing voice. You'll never be in this business.
It's so funny because we tend to look at the African American population as if they're the Borg. They all like one thing. They like this food, they like this music, they like this color, and that's it. That's the whole Black experience. It's like, no, there are Black people who are not huge fans of rap and think it's lowbrow and shitty music. And he has a family that's clearly, talented and trained, and he's coming in with that rap shit, and he's like deathly afraid they're gonna not approve of him. Right. Lots of boys looking for daddy's approval in this show. Have you noticed that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. His moment with the kid outside of the barbershop after he got home was pretty. I mean, this guy has some really solid core values.
Jesse, what's today's mathematics?
Oh my goodness. I wish I could tell you. I will tell you, make sure to drink your milk. How's that? There you go. Does the body good. Is that one of them? All right. Yota Yudi as Inspector Deck. We talked about his arc. Yeah. I mean, you just feel for him. He's loyal. He's trying to get something out there. Please throw this guy a bone. All right. And then I left our brothers off of here. We talked a lot about RZA and Ashton Sanders. Again, my wife, I said this on last season, she's not the biggest Wu-Tang fan, that's for sure, but she's watched this series with me faithfully since we started it.
Right.
And she remarked about how intelligent RZA is portrayed in this show. And he's a very, very intelligent man.
There's a couple of things about him this season I think that need addressing. And there's love, obviously, but there's also like Divine Robert, the RZA, when you get him on music, he's an angel. He's a genius. But he's really uncomfortable like being a rapper in terms of like personality and charisma. And Divine knows that. And so when they do the tour, the East Coast tour, and Divine gets 2 buses, one for management, and Bobby's like, I'm management. It's my label. I'm the producer. I'm management. And Divine's like, no, you're talent. Get the fuck on the talent bus. And it was like the first day of school. Like, I don't want to be here among these roughneck fucking, gangsta guys. Like, I just want to go play with my music. And Divine's like, no, you want to be a rapper. You want to be a gangster rapper. You want to be in the Wu-Tang Clan. Go be in the Wu-Tang Clan. Go listen to Raekwon cry for an hour.
Be a part of the group that you're in.
Right. Be a part of the group that you're in. And I love that about Divine. Like, Divine really looks out for, because in many ways, Bobby is not the most mature of guys. Like,
right.
We tend to, especially the show, tends to almost like fetishize his musical genius. But when you look deep into the show and you see those moments, and this is like great work by the actor, Ashton Saunders, where he shows how uncomfortable he is in other parts of the human experience. And Divine's like, no, we're gonna push you out of your comfort zone, fucker. You need to learn how to, sit between Ghost and Raekwon and rough and tumble and not be a bitch.
Yeah, right.
Right. I wanted to, because we were talking about how Divine just kind of threw his hands up, at the end of episode 7. Like, this is ridiculous. I hate you all. Mm-hmm. And then we fast forward to the series finale, where they're at the Rage Against the Machine show, and Bobby's like, "All right, your contracts are up. You're free to go. I'm done. Goodbye." Like he's done.
He's
fucking like, and I get it. It's exhausting having to push 8 other guys uphill and have the boulder constantly fall back on you and feel like nobody appreciates what you're doing, because a lot of the shit he caught was from Raekwon and some other guys going, "You don't ask us. You just make decisions. You don't ask any of us." And he was like, "What the fuck do you mean? What the fuck do you think control means? Assholes." And oh, by the way, the platinum record says otherwise. And it's just like, one of the things about this show, one of the reasons why I like it so much, the obvious, my appreciation for the Wu-Tang Clan and the music and all of that, is how much I identify with these characters. Like I said, like I've been Divine, but I've also been Bobby, where you're just like, I'm so sick of putting every ounce of energy into all you ungrateful shitheads and feeling unappreciated for it. Doubted every step of the way, except that everything I've done has been right.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, it's like you guys can't do the simplest thing. Show up to your job on time and do it. Right. It's too hard for you.
A lot of anger there. There's also a lot of heartache. Because, his vision was for his friends to be together whenever it called for it. One of the saddest parts of this series is when everybody's supposed to come over. Divine, I think, leaves, and he's like, "Oh yeah, why don't you play your messages? You've been downstairs. You haven't heard any of your messages." He presses play and leaves, and RZA has to sit there and listen to all of the members who said they were going to come over, tell them they're going to do something different on the messages. They've been leaving, and that's heartbreaking to watch all your friends who you grew up with. And you've gone through so much together. Now they've found success and they're doing things differently. Right. They don't have time for this.
Look at the album they're recording Wu-Tang Forever, and he's got the orchestra there, and he's like, "If you guys would," it's like he's saying, "I'm going to do this really like crazy painting," and he puts the paintbrush on the canvas, and there's Raekwon going, "It sucks. I don't want to be here."
Dude, they had the number one album in the world. They had the number one album in the world. Ghostface goes to leave while they're celebrating that. And it's like Raekwon couldn't just like come up to him and say, "Great job." All he did was just kind of do a subtle nod.
Yeah, you ungrateful bitches. So by the time we get to the Rage Against the Machine, so I'm with Bobby. Fuck you people. Like he comes out there and he does his performance, and that's how they end the show. Well, they end the show with Thanksgiving, where everyone's there eating their vegan turkey, which looked like fucking cat food, by the way.
Yeah, it looked nasty. Yeah. But it's a great way of showing that this family is a family, no matter what, and they came together for that moment.
A person whom I hold close to me, we'll say. I don't know if it's high esteem would be the right phrase, but this is a person who is close to me, said, "We will always be family. We'll always love each other. We don't always have to like each other, though." And that's the story of the Wu-Tang Clan. Anything else, Jesse?
That's it, man. That's all the pictures.
Wu-Tang forever.
Wu-Tang forever. What a great series. I mean, even though there were a lot of people really did not like the concept episodes this season, but
these people need to get a fucking hold of yourselves
and take the artist's vision for what it is. Don't go thinking like, oh, and plus they've already been successful. How much more can you throw into 10 seasons? Right. I think they did a great job of being like, let's fill this up a little bit with some really interesting stuff.
Right.
I would not have wanted 3 more, just like you said, 3 more episodes of them in the studio and griping about how somebody ain't going to show up.
Trying to find the record that Bobby wants, and it's never the right one.
Right. It's a great glimpse. This whole series has been a great glimpse into the history of a rap group that, again, I never really listened to a whole lot of. I told Mindy today
how much like the Wu-Tang Clan changed music. Right, exactly.
I sat here today when we watched that final episode, and he was like, I'm going to take you to the number one. We're going to be the number one album in the world. I want $4 million deal.
Right.
And I was like, Mindy, I don't know if they do this.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly they did, but I was listening to West Coast rap at that point in time. Right. I was so separate from East Coast rap that I had no idea. I was probably, this was Tupac and stuff that I was listening to at this point. But anyway, now I know. I have this bit of history that I had no idea about. And I have so much respect for this band. So much.
I actually was listening to Wu-Tang Forever today, and I'm like, the use of the orchestra and like the beats and everything, like it really is a well done album. It's quite good. And I know, like, back when it first came out, I know why I didn't listen to it back then, because I was a metal snob. But now, like, I was listening to it on the way to the movies today, and I'm like, this is better than it has any right to be. This is pretty amazing. As far as the series goes, good urban stories about the American dream, to pull your, it's a very it's funny to think about the Wu-Tang Clan as a conservative story, but conservatism, not political, like philosophical conservatism, is, at least where this is concerned, is that belief in the American dream of, you're born into your poverty, you pull yourself up by your own bootstraps with your own innate talent, and if you persevere, it's the Scott Hall thing, hard work pays off. You just keep knocking out the door, and eventually you're too talented to be ignored, and you blow up and you take over the world. That's the American dream. That's the conservative philosophy of success in America. And it's absolutely the theme of Wu-Tang An American Saga. It's great. So, considering the kind of things that you and I like to discuss with each other, this felt right in our wheelhouse. Like, this would be Orville.
This was good. Yeah. This was good stuff, man.
All right. Well, that is it. That is our wrap up of Wu-Tang An American Saga. This is season 3. Go back and listen to our reviews of season 1 and season 2. We had a good time talking about those. Tomorrow, we're going to be doing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Part 1. Yes, folks, this is a 5-hour movie that they cut in half. Thursday and Friday, we have 2 episodes of Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. The first one is an interview with Patrick Ray, Sarah Maguire, and Megan Flynn of The Wait in the Dark. They Wait in the Dark. And then on Friday, it's their reviews of Inside and Fast X. The Flash comes out on the 16th, so we've got Everyone Loves a Bad Guy, The Flash's Rogues Gallery. That's from Blog Talk Radio days, and it's Metal Hammer of Doom Sundays, but we're taking a break from that to re-air our tribute to Prince from when he passed away a few years ago. So that's Sunday the 11th, and then hey, you and I are back on the 12th. We'll be reviewing Gwar. What is it? Orgasmageddon. Yes, sir. Fun will be had. And then TikTok, you don't stop, Jesse. Me and you are back on the Treme where the people sashay.
Oh, sashaying down the Treme. We're jamming out and having fun.
Goddamn right, son. All right, go back in the archives. It is LGBTQI Pride Month. Yes, sir, Bob. And Sean Comer and I kicked it off with just the greatest podcast. We looked at John Waters' The Trash Trilogy. Jesse, did you know that Pink Flamingos was selected by the National Film Congress for Preservation because it's an important film? Did you know that?
I had no idea. That's great.
Did you know that this important film features a guy fucking a girl with a chicken between them? Did you know that?
Man, you want to put that in the annals of history.
Jesse.
The annals of history.
That's right. Right in the annals.
They need that.
You need to go downstairs and show your family Pink Flamingos and say, like Martin Scorsese, this is cinema.
Mm-hmm.
There's a guy fucking a gal with a chicken in the fucking. Show it to your children. This is cinema.
Fantastic.
So celebrate Queer Month with myself and Sean Comer. We've got 2 more queer shows for you, queer celebrations of queer cinema. First, the not so great. These are great movies, but these are not great representations of the culture. Boys Don't Cry, Ed Wood, and Gia. And that's June 19th. And then we end our Pride Month reviews with Far From Heaven, The Kids Are All Right, and Mulholland Drive. So that's what I got going on, Jesse. What are you doing down in the Treme with the People Sachet?
Oh my goodness. Today, Unspoken Issues on the Source Material Comics feed released our discussion of Cyberforce 0 through 4. Yes, I get a lot of we'll just say a lot of grief for being fans of Cyberforce on my show. And hey, we talked about it. So there's a lot of fun. Well, you could listen to us discuss the logistics of a man shooting a helicopter out of the sky with a pistol. It happened.
Look, if Dom Toretto can take out 2 helicopters with a car, anybody can take out anything with it.
Yes.
None of this matters.
That's right.
Time is a flat circle. Everything is relative. Nothing matters.
That is correct. Prior to that, though, you can hear Mark Radulich and myself talking Slayers. Repentless. Slayer. And if you're a Metal Hammer of Doom extra fan, I threw one in there. We listened to the Repentless video and had a Metal Hammer of Doom extra right on there in the middle of the source material episode.
This is the best part of that podcast.
Yes, sir. It was a good time. But I think that's about it. I don't think I have anything else on the agenda.
All right. Folks, thank you for joining us here on TV Party tonight. That there is Starcher the chef. I am the Mizza. Over there's the Jonasa. Be well, be safe, and behave.